I'm gonna go ahead and say hello, everyone. My name is Nidia Cordova. I'm the Alumni Relations Manager at the CUNY School of Professional Studies. I'm also a recent alum of the school. I'd like to start by welcoming all CUNY alumni and guests to the 7th annual CUNY Multi-Campus Alumni Career Development and Networking event. Before we get started, I want to take this opportunity to thank our amazing career services team at CUNYSPS for partnering with us. The goal of all of our multi-campus alumni career events is to offer a broader opportunity for CUNY graduates to connect and grow their networks. 7 years ago, this effort began with only 4 CUNY campuses. And this year, we are so proud to welcome graduates from a total of 17 CUNY campuses, which include the CUNY School of Professional Studies, the New York City College of Technology, Brooklyn College, Baruch College, the City College of New York Alumni Association, the College of Staten Island, the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, the CUNY School of Labor and Urban Studies, the CUNY Graduate Center, Gutman Community College, Lehman College, and York College, as well as our newest partners, the Graduate School of Public Health and Health Policy, the Colin Powell School for Civic and Global Leadership, Queens College, CUNY School of Law, and Queensborough Community College. Thank you so much to our participating CUNY campuses and to all our alumni for attending this event. And alumni, I just want to remind you to please reach out to your Office of Alumni Relations at your school. Trust me, we want to hear from you. So we have a wonderful program planned for you this evening, but first I would like to introduce my amazing and brilliant colleague, Trang-La Chan, Director of Alumni Engagement and Development at the New York City College of Technology, who will provide some information.
Good evening, everyone. So happy to see all the different schools represented tonight. Thank you, Nidia, for the kind words. And we have a packed house tonight, and this evening we have a full program for you. So we're really excited. So before we get started, let's go over some really quick housekeeping rules, so we're all aware to kind of, be on the same page. So let's. So if we could advise you all to use your speaker view or maybe spotlight the presenter on your Zoom settings tonight. The event is going to be recorded with audio captioning. And during the presentation, please make sure to raise your hand and use the hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom. Or if you have questions, please make sure you could write it down in the chat box below at the bottom of the Zoom. And the presenter and Jackie, Nidia, and I will monitor the box and get to your questions. And then after the program, we'll break out into breakout rooms for peer reviews of your LinkedIn profile. Jeremy will explain that a little bit more later. And lastly, you will get a copy of the recording and the resources after tonight's event. So we also want to take this opportunity to thank Natalia Garin-Klein, the new interim executive director of Alumni and Career Engagement, and her team at the Brooklyn College for their continued support on this event. And I think she's here in the audience. I know she's going to be here tonight, so she'll be writing something in the chat box. With that, we are honored to have Jeremy tonight to present a workshop on the tremendous benefits of leveraging AI, artificial intelligence, to support and enhance your professional growth. Jeremy has devoted his career to helping others succeed in theirs, and from leading the education team at LinkedIn to the marketing team at the Khan Academy, he's touched the lives of millions of people at every stage of their journey. Along the way, he's published the best-selling LinkedIn and Chat GPT for job-seeking books on Amazon, and he serves as a career coach for military veterans at shift.org and MBA students at the University of Michigan, and produced the most viewed video in LinkedIn history. So we're so excited to have him here tonight. And so without further ado, Jeremy, we're going to let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Nidia, and thank you so much, Trang, for that really warm introduction. And thank you to everyone from across the CUNY community for being here. I know the summer is almost here. I know it's the evening, but the fact that you're investing time to support your career and your community, that is awesome. I'm going to reward that investment with tons of really good techniques coming your way. But first, we've got to give some love where love is due, y'all. So please join me in coming to the chat and showering Trang and Nydia and all your alumni staff with a million emojis to let them know that you appreciate their efforts. They are working behind the scenes all day, every day to come up with programs like this and other supports for every CUNY alum. And there are hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions. And that is a big undertaking. So definitely lots of love, well-deserved. Now, a little bit about your speaker tonight. I'm actually someone who got his start not too far probably from where a lot of you are calling from, because I began my career not in Silicon Valley where I am today, but in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, where I was a kindergarten teacher. And one of the things that I loved doing for my students was showing them all the latest technology. Back in the day, how to make an MP3, how to make a PowerPoint. And then that passion for technology led me to Google and to Apple and all these other cool places. But there were two places in particular that really rocked my world. The first was getting to work inside LinkedIn. And that's because working inside LinkedIn gave me an insider's view of the black box of the hiring process. All these insider secrets, everything that happens to your resume after you apply for a job, I got to take a firsthand look at that. And those are secrets I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. In addition, about 2 years ago, I was leading the marketing team over at Khan Academy. And perhaps you've watched some Khan Academy videos, either for yourself or for your own kids. And so my boss, Sal Khan, the guy behind those videos, came to me and said, Jeremy, I just had a chat with this guy, Sam Altman, over at OpenAI, and he showed me something that I think is going to change the future of our species. And I was like, come on, Sal, forget about it. And then I saw Chat GPT with my own eyes for the first time, and I knew Sal was right. This was going to be big. So I've made it my mission over the past couple of years to work with top students, top alums around the world, just like yourselves, to use these techniques to land jobs you love. And I'm going to ask some really big things out of you right now, which is, first of all, get ready for some pop quizzes. I'm going to be asking for you to come to the chat, give me answer to those quizzes as soon as you can. Number two, I'm going to ask even more of you. I'm going to ask for you to volunteer for some live role plays, because if you're selected for a live role play, not only will you learn a ton, but I'm going to give you a free bonus. And I used to give out a copy of this book, and that was fine, but I've got something way better for you tonight. If you are selected for a live role play, I will personally make over your LinkedIn profile right after the session. An entire LinkedIn makeover straight from a LinkedIn insider. That is an incentive that's on the line tonight. And then third and finally, even if you don't want to volunteer, that's totally fine. Just do me the most important favor of all, which is take action. Don't just look at my screen and say, oh, that's nice. Make the changes in real time that give you access to the best opportunities in the world. And like Jerry Chen said, let's go. Here we go. First pop quiz. How many resumes do you think the average recruiter is juggling at any time, anywhere in the world? Is it about 100 resumes at once, 1,000 resumes, or 10,000 resumes? A, B, or C? What do you think? We're seeing so many answers pour in. Jerry says C. Aladdin says C. Brandon says maybe more like 700. Serena says C. Well, Jerry, you were the first brave CUNY alum to say 10,000 resumes. If you don't mind unmuting for 1 second, Jerry, why did you pick such a massive number? What was behind that calculation?
Yeah, I feel like the job market is very competitive. So like the recruiter probably have to deal with tens of thousands of resumes every single day.
Yeah, you nailed it, Jerry, because we've seen this ourselves. If you've applied for jobs recently, there are all these times when you have this great resume and you never even hear back. And it's not because the recruiters are bad people. It's because they're overwhelmed. Look at the data. According to the largest organization for HR in the world, the average recruiter has 30 to 40 roles to fill. Each job opening attracts 250 resumes. Do that simple math, and these poor recruiters are buried. So next question, how do they dig themselves out? In particular, how many seconds of attention on average are recruiters giving to each of these resumes? 6 seconds, 25 seconds, or 60 seconds? And I'm seeing all these A's, and I saw that Brandon Dickinson was putting in like A, which I love. Brandon is pumped. Brandon, how is it possible that a recruiter could read an entire resume in 6 seconds? What was behind your answer, Brandon?
You can hear me, right?
Yep, hear you great.
Yeah, so like Jerry said for the last question, we're dealing with 10,000s of resumes every single day or every single week. So they don't want to skim through it for maybe less than 10 seconds. So if it looks good in the first 5 seconds of looking at it, then you're possibly going to go forward within the interview process. So that's how I looked at it basically.
Yeah, you nailed it, Brandon. It's basic math, right? The number of hours in a day that we are awake is fixed. And so even if you want to spend an hour looking at each resume, you just don't have the time. You've got to train your brain to do really quick pattern recognition. This resume's in, this resume's out. And so what you just alluded to, Brandon, is what we're going to be talking about today, which is not just the job of the job seeker. That's a hard job, obviously, but the job of the other person on the other side of the looking glass. What it's like to look through all these resumes and how do you choose the ones who ultimately get the opportunities. And I want to just start by completely clearing the decks here. Obviously, resumes matter. Obviously, it's important to apply for jobs. But here's the reality. If you are a recruiter in 2024, there is no recruiter left that I know of who is still reading every one of those resumes, even at just 6 seconds a pop, because we are living in a world of LinkedIn, a world when you can search through 1 billion professional profiles with a single click, which means every recruiter is now going on LinkedIn trying to find you. And how do they search for your talent? Do they search for certain degrees, certain schools, or certain job titles? And I see that Cheyenne said C, it's all about job titles. So Cheyenne, what was behind your answer? Why are job titles so critical?
First, it's pronounced Cheyenne.
Oh, my apologies.
No worries. When I select a job title, I would like to put the understanding that when these recruiters are looking for something in my search, the job title indicates that these are the talents being applied in the work setting. It basically says, hey, this guy has experience in this field.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what you're talking about here is basically everything we've just mentioned, which is you've got a towering number of jobs to fill. You have very little time to do it. You don't want to fool around just saying, hey, maybe this person's good. You need someone who's telling you I can do this exact job. So you nailed it. And it turns out that this is so critical to recruiters that this very question, what is the job title you are looking to fill, is baked in to the homepage of every recruiter around the world. Because what you're all looking at right now is LinkedIn, but it's not the free LinkedIn that anyone can use. Instead, this is LinkedIn Recruiter, a $10,000 per year, per seat tool that every recruiter in the world has no choice but to buy because LinkedIn has a monopoly on our data. Not Google, not Apple, not Facebook can touch LinkedIn for the fact that they know about every professional and they make that accessible to recruiters who want to find our talents. And so what I want you to do right now is to pull up your own LinkedIn profile. And if you find underneath your name that it says recent CUNY alum, just graduated from Baruch, all of those things are great. But where I want you to be focused is not on the past or even the present, but on where you're headed next, because that's what the recruiter is looking for, and that's how they're going to find you. And if you're feeling stuck right now, and you're not sure of that perfect next step, what I want you to do is raise your hand loud and proud right inside Zoom. And the first person to do so wins that profile makeover straight from yours truly. And our first volunteer tonight is going to be Aladdin Omar. So Aladdin, go ahead and turn on your microphone, and everyone give Aladdin so much CUNY love for kicking things off. Welcome, Aladdin.
Thank you. Can you just remind me what the prompt was? Am I just talking about like where?
Oh, yeah. And have no fear. For all these role plays, I'll walk you through everything. So super easy. But tell me this. Which CUNY school did you go to?
I went to College of Staten Island.
Oh, my goodness. We got some CSI love. Okay, if there are any CSIers on the line, you got to blow it up for Aladdin right now. Show him that love from the best borough in New York. Okay, I know I'm saying that as a Brooklynite myself, so it took a lot of guts. Okay, Aladdin, tell me this. What have you been up to since CSI, and what are you thinking about in terms of next steps?
That's the problem. I've been kind of overwhelming myself with tasks. I've been taking on jobs from little activities professors have wanted me to do, get involved with campus more, work on personal projects. trying to apply for jobs, trying to work on my own portfolio. It just feels like it's so much, and like the time management is like aspect is killing me, you know?
Yeah. Oh man, you just encapsulated it so beautifully, which is the hardest thing about looking for a job is not just getting the job, it's getting organized, it's managing your emotions, it's facing rejection. It's all that stuff that surrounds it that really sucks. So let's help you break through that. So first of all, I think having clarity, having a North Star can be enormously helpful. So let's do this. Let's head over to Chat GPT, and I want you to tell me a couple things about yourself. I want you to tell me some of the things that you're great at, your best skills, the things that are hard for others but easy for you, your superpowers. And then I also want you to tell me about your passions. What are you naturally drawn to? What gets you excited?
Sure. So I love doing full stack development, mainly like web development or app development. I've worked with React the most, React, JavaScript, or TypeScript. What gets me curious is just kind of just learning everything about software and even hardware, just learning how things work and how things work together and all the little tiny complexities behind everything. Even though I know almost nothing about that stuff, that's just like a super long-term goal for me.
Yeah,
But
I love that. This is so cool. I got to tell you, as you're talking, I hope everyone is thinking about the same questions for yourselves, because I know it's a little tough to look in the mirror, but doing that self-reflection about what makes you unique, what makes you special, what makes you valuable, that's the source of every great career. And the fact that you already have that in mind, that's a powerful first step. So definitely don't sort of overlook that. Like, that is critical. And now with that in mind, I'm going to ask the big question of ChatGPT, which is the recruiter's question. What are 10 specific job titles, not just random pathways, but actual jobs that match my skills and interests? And not only do I want you to root on Aladdin, as so many people are doing, but I want you to root on yourself. Give yourself some love. So grab that prompt right out of the chat, come to ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot, whatever tool you like to use, and give it a shot. Put in your skills, put in your passions, and then ask that big question. Okay, here we go, Aladdin. Here's where it gets really fun. So it's going to say, given that experience that you have, obviously you could be a full stack developer or React developer, no duh. But there are also other interesting things, all the way to UI UX developer, systems engineer, on and on and on. So when you think about these 10 roles, we've got to break some ties here. We've got to stack rank these in a way so you're not just boiling the ocean, feeling totally overwhelmed like you were mentioning. Tell me 2 or 3 things that really matter to you, Aladdin, when you think about a great career. Is it compensation? Is it work-life balance? Is it working on the cutting edge of technology? Being able to travel? What's important to you?
definitely I'm between the work-life balance and the cutting edge of technology.
Okay, so it ranks these roles on work-life balance and cutting edge tech. And the beautiful thing here is that ChatGPT can do what no career coach can do, myself included, which is to basically see all these careers and give us a flavor of what they're really like on the inside. So for example, you might say, hey, all these roles are roughly the same from work-life balance perspective, but some of them are a little more on the cutting edge than others. Okay, maybe we want to spend a little more time focused on full stack versus spending time on UI UX. So that's going to be important for us. Again, I want everyone trying this. The chats are all in the prompts are all in the chat. And now, Aladdin, tell me this. Obviously, you could go back and forth until the cows come home when it comes to investigating these roles inside ChatGPT. Tell me about a day in the life. Tell me about the compensation, all this good stuff. But if you're going to go out there into the real world, you've got to talk to real world professionals. And who do you think are the best full stack developers in the world who would love to chat with you?
The best in the world? Well,
Yeah.
I guess like
Well, remember the Venn diagram. So best in the world, but also really want to talk to you. They want to share their expertise.
oh, see, here's where the imposter syndrome comes in.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure. So
Okay.
the first thing I think of is like, you know, the major like social media like companies like Twitter and Instagram and stuff like
Okay.
that. They have that kind of
Yeah,
technology.
and we can debate, you know, Facebook engineers versus Google engineers and blah, blah, blah. But
Right.
check out what Sophia said. Check out what Sangeeta said in the chat. It's not about any of those companies. It's about the power of CUNY and specifically the power of CSI. The fact that you graduate from the school where tens of thousands of others have graduated and gone on to great careers gives you a network for the rest of your life. This is what I did not appreciate when I graduated from college, but I tap into every day now as a professional. Because I want you all to join me on LinkedIn and search for your own alma mater. So College of Staten Island, Baruch, Brooklyn College, wherever you went, click on that page. And then specifically when you're on that page, I want you to focus on the alumni tool. This is the thing that my team built back in the day when I was on the education team. So we're going to search for College of Staten Island. We're going to come over here and do a school search. So we pull up the exact right school. And then once we've got it, we're good to go. So City University of New York, College of Staten Island. Here's the alumni tab. I'm going to put this link to the chat for all the CSI folks out there. Obviously, if you went to a different school like Lehman or York, go ahead and click that one instead. And now Aladdin, how interested would you be in finding full stack developers who went to the exact same school?
I'd be very interested.
Yeah, here we go. Let's make it happen. Full stack developer, all in quotes. We run our search and bam, check this out. 100 folks at all the top firms. They're at Amazon, they're at Accenture, they're at Infosys, they're at General Assembly, on and on and on, down through the list. So we can come down here and say, okay, let's go learn from Mikhail, who's a full stack developer at State Street, so doing super well for himself. If we want to reach out to Mikhail, it's as simple as clicking connect, clicking add a note. But just when we were doing so well, Aladdin, this big blank screen gets dropped into our laps and we're like, oh God, what am I supposed to put in here? Now I know it's tempting to send a completely blank connection request. Why might that be not so effective, do you think?
Well, it's just gonna look like another like button to someone, you know. It doesn't really say anything. If you kind of throw a message in there, it's like, especially someone that's coming from another school, it's like you get this relatable message. Hi, I'm from this place and I'm also experiencing this problem. They feel a sense of connection with that, and
That's
they want to
right.
help, something like that.
That's right, because if Mikhail gets this blank thing, he's like, who the heck is Aladdin?
Right.
If you actually draw the connections out really clearly, now he's going to feel a lot more of what sociologists call generativity, desire to sort of pay it forward to the next generation. Now, obviously, you could come to Chat GPT and you could say, write a LinkedIn connection message, but tell me what's problematic about this result, Aladdin. Why is this not going to get the job done?
Probably not very detailed.
Not detailed, super generic, even too long. It's not even going to fit into that box. Like Cheyenne said, we only have a character limit of 200 because LinkedIn is turning the screws on students and recent grads, which is ridiculous, by the way. So we're going to have to use ChatGPT in a better way. Check this out. Instead of just having a generic message, we're going to make it specific. We're going to grab Mikhail's profile, what we need to know about him, and we're going to say, suggest 3 things I should mention to the following alum to draw a sense of connection. We want him to understand he's not just helping out some total rando. He's helping out the very next Mikhail, the guy who's following in his footsteps and who wants to learn from his expertise. So here is the prompt right in the chat, and bam, here is the best way to use ChatGPT. Not as a ghostwriter that absolutely sucks, but as a research assistant that goes out there and gets us the information we need to call that out. So for example, if he's done some work in React, we should be talking about that. And now let's write this message together. We're going to say, hi, Mikhail. And what's in your very first sentence, Aladdin? Spell it out for me.
I want to start with, I guess, like, hey, I'm a recent graduate in College of Staten Island looking for a job. And I was wondering if there are any kind of tips you have as to job search and whatnot, and just go from there.
Yeah. So first of all, you always start with what you have in common. So I'm a
Right.
brand new CSI grad. I'm just super excited to connect. Like, show some enthusiasm. Don't be a robot. Don't be ChatGPT. Be yourself. Then you say, well, this is a big question. I want to be really clear about this. Do you want to ask him for a job? Because I've had this experience a lot where students reach out to me and say, hey, Jeremy, you went to XYZ school. Hook me up with a job. Do you think that's effective, Aladdin?
Not at all.
No, not at all. So you're going to say, I'd love to learn from your expertise. The thing that every alum wants to share is not just handing out a job like it's candy, but handing out those hard-earned truths that they've worked so hard to develop. So I'd love to learn from your expertise. And are you going to ask for an hour of his time over lunch next week? Well, that might be nice, but instead we're going to say, any chance you have even 10 minutes for a quick chat over Zoom next week? And bam, in those 200 characters you are allotted, you have a really powerful message. And guess what? I know there's some people talking in the chat right now. Every single LinkedIn member can send a connection request, even if you don't have LinkedIn Premium. The only catch is that you only get 200 characters, which again is ridiculous. But again, use that connection message box because that is so powerful for getting a response. Okay, Aladdin, you've been amazing, but I've got one last question for you.
Sure.
When the moment arrives and you have a chance to pick the brain of this rock star insider, what do you want to ask him to decide if his path is a good fit for you?
What do I want to ask him? I guess what his path was like when he first graduated, and where he like kind of where his mindset was, or what his priorities were when he first graduated.
Yeah. And Peggy says, what do you love about your job? Which is always amazing. People love to talk about themselves, right?
That's
How
true.
did you go from CSI to State Street? What's kept you here? What do you hate about their job? People love to moan about that a little bit. But the bottom line is we can do a lot better than the generic questions that we find on Google. And back in the day when I was in your shoes, Aladdin, I would come to Google and I was like, Google, I've got an informational interview coming up. I'm so freaking out. What should I say? But we now live in the world of instant personalization. So check this out. We come back to Chat GPT. We say, generate 10 questions for Mikhail to help me decide if his role matches my skills and interests. Now, big question here, Aladdin. Do we have to come in and paste in Mikhail's profile, paste in your skills and interests, or is that already incorporated?
I think it's already incorporated, right?
It's already incorporated because this is the big difference. ChatGPT is not Google. Each search is not a blank slate. It is building as a conversation builds upon the existing sort of information. And check this out. Because you said, hey, I'm really interested in cutting edge work, it's going to ask about the technologies and frameworks that he works on to see if he's getting access to that. Because you talked about wanting to have a really good work-life balance, it's going to ask about that in terms of the team structure and the environment and what it feels like. And so ultimately, it's going to bring back this role, not just to a generic student, but to the specific things that make you you. And I'm going to tell you right now, Aladdin, if you are willing to go through this process, chat with a few CSI alums, not only will you have incredible connections at these companies, but you're going to learn so much more about yourself in the process. And that's where every great career begins. So Aladdin, I'm about to give you some rocket fuel. Come to my profile on LinkedIn, shoot me a message right now, and I will hook you up with a profile makeover that will help you start unlocking opportunity immediately. But Aladdin, you brought so much honor to CSI, to the whole CUNY community. So everyone blow it up with love, y'all. Aladdin crushed it. All right, let's take, oh yeah, go for it, Aladdin. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. All I said was thanks so much for having me.
Oh yeah, totally my pleasure. You brought it, you brought your A game. Okay, what I want you to do now is I want you to ask your own questions. And I'll be honest with you, the chat is blowing up now, which I love, but it's not possible for human eyes to read those questions as fast as they're coming in. So let me ask for a big favor. If you want to ask a question, put your hand up right now. I will take all those questions, but I got to see those hands up so I can keep track of who wants to ask a question. Okay, let's go back to Cheyenne again. Cheyenne, what's on your mind?
Yeah, so when generating a note to the person you want to connect with, what was the details you selected?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of what I decided to incorporate into the message, or what I gave ChatGPT to learn more about Mikhail.
What you gave to ChatGPT?
Ah, yes, great question. So what I find is that sometimes people will have LinkedIn profiles that are so long and so massive, and we're like, can I just cut to the chase? What should I focus on here? So in that case, I grab the profile top to bottom, I come back to ChatGPT, and I flat out just ask in plain English, none of this prompt engineering nonsense. I say, hey, please tell me, give me the specific details that I should mention to the following alum to draw a sense of connection. Because that's what we're looking for. We don't want these alums to feel like we're total strangers. We want them to feel like, hey, maybe Shannon is a protege who I can help to develop, just like I learned from a Brooklyn College alum or a Baruch College alum in the course of my journey. Does that make sense?
Okay, so basically just try to make the person feel like you can relate to these guys.
Yeah. And if you have any sort of doubts about that, just use that template that I shared in the chat. Just so everyone knows, I'm putting everything that I produce on my screen into the chat. Plus you're getting the recording, plus you're getting my slides. So you'll have all of that for your reference. So great question. Let's move on to Luis. Luis, what do you have for us, my friend?
So, my thing is, I graduated with a computer information systems bachelor's degree at Lehman College,
Ooh, nice.
and I don't know. It feels like I went to school, but it's been like really difficult for me to get a job. So
Yeah.
it kind of feels like I went to school for nothing. And then
Oh man.
when it comes to typing, whenever I'm up to the interview part of the typing test, I don't type fast because of a disability that I have.
Okay.
So that's usually like their last straw. So I'm still trying to figure out where I fit in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me just tell you, this first step that we've talked about is just for the folks who are feeling like, I don't even know where to focus. It sounds like in your case, you may actually have a pretty good sense of the jobs you want, but you're having trouble breaking through and getting across that finish line. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so stay tuned for the next two steps. We're going to talk about how do you get more interviews and how do you get more offers. And I think those are going to apply more directly to exactly where you are. Okay, Luis?
All right, thank you.
But yeah, I promise we're going to make this pay off on the exact things you need. All right, we'll take one more question and then we'll move on. Shivanjini, you from CCNY, what's your question?
Hi, I was wanting to ask, what is your advice for students who are international and currently, going for a job search and recently finished with school?
Yeah, and I know it's so frustrating because not only is it hard to find a job in general, but then you have this whole sponsorship thing on top of that, which is a massive, massive sort of pain in the butt, frankly, if you're trying to build a great career in the US. So what can you do about that? Well, here's the hard news. The hard news is because recruiters want to make their jobs as easy as possible, they almost never list whether they're willing to sponsor in the job description. And there's no job board that I know of on LinkedIn or Indeed or any place that has a really easy filter. Just show me the jobs that sponsor. But I have a really good hack for you, Shivanjini, which is if you were to come into LinkedIn and you were to search not for necessarily where you went to school in the US, but a major university in your home country, you can actually find people who've made that leap to the US, who are being sponsored to be here, and then learn from them how they ultimately broke in. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you were from India and you wanted to figure out, hey, how are people from IT or IM making it into the US? Well, if you search for that specific school, and then you come over here and say, okay, let me do the same thing for IIT that I just did for College of Staten Island, I can see that not only are there thousands of alumni from IIT, but if I slide over to where they live, dun, 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 there are over 8,000 in the US. And almost by definition, they have to be getting sponsored. So I could find all the folks who are working at the companies I want to work at. So for example, Google, and I could reach out to them. I could reach out to Nikita or Divyam or Bhavika and say, hey, I just want to get a sense of how you got that sponsorship opportunity. What did it take to ultimately open that door? And I find this creates this nice little digital cookie crumb trail that you can trace all the way from the home country to sponsorship in the US and beyond. And that is my best hack for that particular conundrum. But I totally understand it is a very hard road, and I'm super happy to support your success in any way I can. Great question. Okay, let us now move on to the next pop quiz. And before we do that, I just want to give a very quick crash course on the right way to use AI, because I'm seeing a lot of students and alums using it incorrectly. So the first thing you need to know is that there are only three things that matter, and they are the mnemonic GPT. Now, G stands for generic, as in Chat GPT is a great generic tool. but I used to recommend all these other tools like Gemini and Copilot and Perplexity for different use cases. However, I'm happy to say that as of 2 weeks ago, OpenAI made their very best model available to everyone for free. So now when you come into Chat GPT, you have access to this new model, and you can say stuff like, what is the salary range for full stack developers in NYC in 2024? And for the first time on ChatGPT, without paying a cent, you can get all the benefits, where it searches the web, it pulls in the latest data, and it gives you the citation so you can track it back to the original source. And because it can now do all this stuff, and you can upload files for data analysis, and it's fast and it's free, I think you can now make ChatGPT your daily driver. So you're going to use ChatGPT. How are you going to prompt it? And the simple rule is that garbage in equals garbage out. As a hiring manager at Khan Academy, I cannot tell you the number of candidates I rejected because it was so obvious that their cover letter and their resume were written by ChatGPT in a very lazy way. And because I could see they were being lazy with their job applications, I was not going to let them near my job with a 10-foot pole. On the other hand, the really effective way to use ChatGPT is to be specific. Here's the job description I want. Here's my existing resume. What are 3 things that are missing from my resume based on that job description? That kind of prompt is going to get a way better response because it's way more specific. And then no matter what you get back, I know this sounds crazy, but I want you to feel comfortable talking back to the machine. This is not Google. We don't have to settle for those 10 blue links. Instead, say, hey, make it shorter, make it more engaging. Give me more quantitative data. Whatever you need, you can get it if you ask for it. So GPT is the path to success. Okay, with that said, here's the next pop quiz. Imagine now that you are a recruiter. You could be a recruiter at State Street, a recruiter at Google, a recruiter at any top employer. You have 1 billion profiles to search through on LinkedIn. How do you focus your search? Is it based on the classes they took, the keywords they listed, or the GPA they worked so hard to earn back when they were at CUNY? And I see that, I believe it was Emmanuel Meha said B. Emmanuel, you said B. It's all about keywords. Why is that so important?
Well, it's because you want to stand out, because when you see all the job postings, there's usually these key terms that they look for, and like specific skills that they want that to be a competitive and candidate compared to other people who are applying for this role.
That's right. It goes right back to where we started, right, Emmanuel? Which is, hey, if the recruiter has this massive pile of resumes to get through, this massive number of jobs to fill, they've got to be like a heat-seeking missile, which is, hey, can you do the job or not? Yes, your classes are nice, your grades are great, but can you do the specific skills I need for someone to get this job done? And to give you a flavor of how it works, I'm going to take you right now deep into the belly of the LinkedIn recruiter algorithm so you can see an actual search. So here I am. I'm a recruiter and I'm searching for a project manager in Chicago with these skills. And then lo and behold, look who rises to the top of my screen. In other words, look who's going to be the very first person I reach out to when I reach out to candidates to interview at my firm. The one thing all these top candidates have in common is they have that critical job title that we already talked about in one critical section. They have it in their headline, that little piece of text right below your name. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Jeremy, is it true that the headline, this tiny little piece of text, is more important than my experience or my skills? And it is absolutely true, because here's the reality from inside LinkedIn. LinkedIn search engineers have a very tough job. They have to break ties across millions of candidates who all have the same search terms. And who gets the sort of tiebreaker? It's the people who have the most important keywords in the most important sections. And because your headline is limited to just 220 characters, shorter than a tweet, that is considered the gold standard for your keywords, the most authentic section, and the section that gets the most weight in the algorithm. So with that being said, I'm going to lower all hands. If you want a free profile makeover right now, raise those hands loud and proud. And Christian Time, you are the next recipient of this LinkedIn makeover that's going to get you ready for prime time. So Christian, feel free to unmute, turn on your webcam, And everyone, please shower Christian with love for being our awesome next volunteer. Here comes Christian. All right, Christian, let us know when you're ready to rock. Hey, Christian.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. Christian, where did you graduate from?
I didn't actually graduate from a college. I
no
actually
worries.
went to a college program or the College of Urban Studies.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome. And now that you're out there in the world, what is the next job title that you want to be found for on LinkedIn?
Currently, I was looking for job titles regarding either creative writing and or game design. I was leaning more into game design. That's why I was looking into other colleges that could help me with that.
Love that. Okay, so you want to be a game designer. Now, before we even touch your profile, I want you and all of your CUNY classmates to come to LinkedIn and basically be your own headhunter. So search for the exact thing that you want to be found for so you can start to reverse engineer the algorithm. In this case, I'm searching for game designer. In someone else's case, they might search for product manager or accountant. And what I want you to do, Christian, is use your awesome analytical skills and tell me this. What do Lake and Aaron and Joseph and Pablo and Ryan all have in common? Why are they at the top of my list?
Well, first, we actually see that they have game designers in their headline.
Exactly. Now, this is really important. They may be a game designer or they may not be a game designer, but they have it in their headline. And the reason I call out that distinction is how frustrating would it be, Christian, if you couldn't be found for this role until you're doing that role already? That would be a catch-22, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus there is a little sort of loophole, if you will, where the headline allows you to express your interest in your next role, not just on the role you already have. So Christian, with that in mind, do you mind if I pull up your profile, not to criticize it, but to shower it with love?
Sure.
Okay, and everyone, give Christian a lot of love, because it's one thing to raise your hand, that's pretty brave, but actually sharing your whole profile with the CUNY community, that takes massive guts. So make it rain love for our friend Christian. Okay, we're gonna pull up Christian's profile here. And then Christian, just let me know, and maybe you can even share it in the chat. Let me know if you see yourself on this list.
Oh, it's the one with John Adams High School.
Ah, beautiful. Okay, even better. You nailed it. Okay, so here's Christian's profile. And we can talk about things like profile photos and background photos in a second. But let's start with the Pareto principle. What are the things that matter most right off the bat? And the fact that you say student at John Adams High School, that's great. You know, obviously, if you meet some John Adams folks out there, they're going to love to connect around that. But why will you never be found for game design roles given your current headline?
With my current headline, since I don't have the game design role, if a person were to search for those terms, it would not actually be able to link to those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And so basically you're invisible to recruiters, even if you might be an awesome game designer, because they don't know what's in your head. They don't know what's in your heart. All they have is your headline. And so now this is the big question. How could you put the phrase game designer into your headline without being unethical? Because I know people are going to say, oh, Christian's not a game designer yet. He can't call himself that. What single word could you put right here that would make that absolutely true? And see what your classmates are saying. So Jerry says aspiring, Aladdin says aspiring, Malika says passionate, Carolyn says junior, Raphael says perspective. It's like we have a human thesaurus here, Christian. You've got all the variants. So you could say, you know, aspiring game designer. You could say seeking game designer opportunities. You could say exploring game designer internships. Whatever is true of your situation, just put that right where the algorithm and the recruiter can see it. And that is the way to get credit, not just for where you've been, but where you're headed. So I want every CUNY alum right now to stop what you're doing. And if you are a free agent and able to change your headline at will, please let recruiters know what you're looking for, not just where you went to school. So that's step one. Now, Christian, I know there are some folks on the line who may be currently employed, and maybe they don't want their boss seeing them change their headline. What do you think they could do to get the message directly to recruiters without tipping off their current boss? Have you seen this thing on LinkedIn called Open to Work, this big green banner on some people's profile photos? Well, basically what that is a signal to recruiters that, hey, I'm in the game, for a specific role. And it turns out that you can turn that signal on in a way that's essentially stealth mode. You can say, I want to be a game designer, or I want to be a marketing manager. I want to be in New York. I want to be in Brooklyn. And then you can shine that signal just to recruiters, not to anybody outside of that world. And even recruiters at your current company will get filtered out of seeing that signal. So you have all the benefits of showing the signal to the right person, none of the drawbacks of showing it to the wrong person. Okay, Christian?
Yes, especially since it's going to be useful for me since I have no actual job at the moment for these.
Yeah, so in your case, you definitely want to change your headline. I just
Mhm.
wanted to call that out for any CUNY classmates who are like, hey, I'm currently employed, but I'm also kind of looking on the down low. Okay, so that's the workaround. Now, Christian, let's face facts. How competitive is this field? How many people want to break into game design?
For the game design field is extremely competitive since it's actually connected to a multitude of different factors such as art, computer science, and other technological and or creative fields. And
Yeah.
so with game design, it's more of a mismatch of different topics that actively culminate into one subject that can make it extremely difficult for one person to get in.
Yeah, and Brandon and Edwin are like blown over like 100,000 people. That is seriously competitive, right? So we know it can't be only about job title. Job title is the first cut, but it's not the last cut. If you were a recruiter at Electronic Arts or Blizzard or any of these top, game publishers, what would you be filtering for, Christian, beyond just job title? What else is critical?
Besides just your job titles, you will also have to label any available skills and or past experiences that you have.
Yeah, we got to figure out, like, anyone can call themselves a game designer, but can you walk the talk? Do you have experience with C++ or wireframes or road mapping or whatever the skills are? Now, Christian, if you wanted to figure out what the most important skills are for a game design job, what is the source of truth? Where could you look on LinkedIn to find a list of the most important skills? And if anyone knows, put it in the chat. I'll tell you there's a spot on LinkedIn where recruiters are handing you this list of key skills every single day. Where is that, y'all? Aha, dun dun dun. Cheyenne says jobs. Emmanuel says jobs. Sophia says jobs. Yes, job listings, as painful as they are the source of truth, the holy Bible, if you will, of the specific hire. Here's what we need down to the exact skills. So here's a job at Roblox, right? Super cool company. They want someone with experience using Unity, Unreal, Twine. They want some experience with prototype development, with Roblox Studio, et cetera, et cetera. Christian, if you could get a cheat sheet of the most important skills to rock your profile, would you be interested?
Yes, especially from computer science, not computer science, just in game design itself.
Yeah.
If having a cheat sheet, it would allow you to try and figure out which specific subjects you would like to learn more.
Oh, yes, Christian, you are one step ahead of me. Christian says, hey, why would I waste my human time and my human eyes reading through all this stuff when I could use Chat GPT's algorithmic eyes to instantly parse it? Check this out, Christian. Here is a powerful technique. What I want everyone to try right now is come to Chat GPT and just ask in plain English, what are the top 15 most important skill keywords in this JD, job description? And we literally just paste it in. No coding, no formatting. Here's the prompt right in the chat. Everyone try this right now with your preferred job description. And bam, ChatGPT said, let's get rid of all that fluff, all that nonsense. Let's boil it down to what matters inside LinkedIn and the applicant tracking system. Now, Christian, that's the first step. Are you ready for your big moment of truth? Seeing how you're doing on these skills inside LinkedIn.
Definitely. I actually have not worked that much on LinkedIn, so you may not. So I honestly expect there to be a lot missing.
Okay, no worries at all. And by the way, this is not about judgment. This is all about love. This is about making your profile get the love it deserves. So watch this. We're going to take Christian's profile as it exists today. We're going to say, which of those keywords are missing from my profile? Again, everyone try this right now. Paste in your profile, paste in your resume, paste in your CV, whatever you have. Here's the prompt. And bam, Chat GPT does exactly what the ATS does. It says, hey, you've got 4 of those skills, but you're missing the other 11. Now, just to set the bar really clearly, Christian, did you need to have every one of these skills to get chosen by a recruiter?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. What do you think is a sweet spot? Like, do you need to match half the skills, 3/4 of the skills? What do recruiters want?
Usually in game design, you could always condense it to about 3 different subjects, being computer science, art, and then writing.
Yes, absolutely. And so check this out. I've got really great news for you and for every CUNY alum. It turns out, even though we may believe in our heads that we have to be 100% qualified just to apply, recruiters have a much different set of criteria. They say, well, the 100% qualified person may be so overqualified that even if they get the job offer, they turn it down. We just waste our time. We'd rather go for the candidate who's like 50 or 60% qualified. They're knowledgeable enough to be dangerous on day one, but they're hungry enough to say yes in the first place, which is what we want. So Christian, you don't need to get all these keywords into your profile, just about maybe 5 or 6 of them. So of these skills, Christian, where do you actually have a little experience?
The experience I would have would be number 2, prototyping, number 5, documentation, number 7, gameplay design, number 9, problem solving, and then number 1, cognitive skills.
Okay, beautiful. So I'm gonna put those in. And then I'm gonna say, I've experienced with all these things. Please generate 3 revised bullets to incorporate these into my profile. And here's the amazing thing to me. I think about Alexa and Siri and all those AIs we've used in the last couple of years. They're just so dumb, frankly, right? They don't think creatively, they're very linear. But ChatGPT is such a different beast that it can actually be creative. It can find ways to get you credit for those critical keywords right where it matters. There is only one catch here, Christian. If you were to copy and paste these bullets right into your profile or right into your resume without reading carefully, how could that lead to total disaster?
It would lead to total disasters such as, even though for my own resume, I actually have experience with Unity. If you don't have any experience with Unity, stating it inside of your resume in the bullet number 1 would cause issues for what you could potentially be looking for.
Right, and not just issues for yourself. Like, yeah, you're gonna get kicked out of the process, but maybe even issues for CUNY. When it turns out that all these CUNY alums are applying for jobs with totally bogus resumes, that's not gonna look good for CUNY. So from your own brand perspective, from your beloved alma mater, take good care to make sure that every word, every pixel in your documents is the truth, no matter what ChatGPT generates. So Christian, I gotta give you mad love because it took a lot of guts to put yourself out there. I'm gonna give you 2 parting gifts. Number 1, I'm gonna give you a list of keywords to get credit for. So when you have a little time, find a way to work these into your profile. And then when you have a chance to do that, shoot me a message in return, and I will give you a full profile makeover from top to bottom to get you ready for prime time. Okay, my friend?
Thank you. This means a lot.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Everyone, blow it up with love for Christian. He was awesome. Okay, I want to take some questions because I know people are asking about hallucinations, they're asking about ethics. There are so many juicy questions to get into. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lower all hands. If you want to ask your question live, raise those hands right in Zoom, and I will take those questions in the order they come in. Let's start with Serena. Serena Zhao, what's on your mind?
I think it's wonderful that we are learning how to customize our profile and then leverage Chat GPT to enhance our message as well as connection, just narrow down the target. I'm also curious because I'm so new to the tool, curious how I might actually leverage Chat GPT to use other functions. I know that it might be a little bit off the topic, but any other suggestions how I might use it to say help with say writing a cover letter or even writing a resume, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to any kind of writing tasks, I really want you to avoid the trap of having Chat GPT doing the writing for you. As we've talked about, it's robotic. It has these hallucinations baked in. It's just not a good look. So there are 3 ways that I would use Chat GPT for writing, especially with cover letters. I would use it for ideas. I would say, suggest 3 ideas I should cover in my cover letter in response to this JD. And I'll just paste in a random job description here to give you a taste of how it works. And again, I'm going to give everyone the prompt because I want you to have a nice prompt library. And it's going to say, hey, I'm not going to write the cover letter for you, but these are the things you should emphasize. And now you kind of have that research assistant giving you some stuff. You can also ask for examples like we just did in the one that we just covered for the resume. And then finally, you can ask for feedback. Check this out. Please provide feedback on my cover letter based on grammar and fit with that role. I'm going to paste in the actual cover letter here. And then ChatGPT can be a little bit of a career coach. No, it's not as good as your CUNY career coaches or your alumni career coaches, but in the heat of the moment, it can do a really good job of sorting through all this data, sorting through these job descriptions, and telling you what you're missing. And so bottom line, I love ChatGPT for ideation, coming up with ideas. I love it for coming up with examples. I love it for feedback. I just don't love it for writing by itself. Okay, Serena? Great question. Let's go next to Jerry. Jerry, what do you got for us?
So I have a question about the point you mentioned previously.
Yeah.
You mentioned we only need to get 50% match to
Yes.
possibly get an interview. So like, does that mean we don't have to spend too much time like tailor like our resume to each specific title for each specific company? Yeah, because sometimes we may spend a lot of time like adding the keyword from the job description to it to like make the percentage higher.
Yeah, great question. So
Does
here's
that mean we don't have to do that?
here's my golden rule of thumb, Jerry. Obviously, follow the data. And then here's what I've seen. Because I was a hiring manager for so long in the tech industry, I've seen people who I knew were qualified get rejected immediately because they just didn't match more than 20% of the keywords. So before you assume that you have that match rate, do that exact same prompt that I just demonstrated. Do it on every single job you apply for. If it turns out you're already 60% qualified, you're golden. You don't have to do any more optimization. But I find that a lot of people believe they're really qualified, and then it turns out they're not using the exact same phrasing. They're not getting credit for it inside the ATS. So run the test so you have the peace of mind, Jerry, that you're actually as qualified as you believe yourself to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. I wonder, is there any tools that can tell you like how much your resume match a specific like job description, like that performs?
Yeah. So there are lots of tools out there like JobScan, which I used to recommend, which will scan your resume and give you that match rate. The only problem is they cost money. And I think that one of the most ironic things is like when you're a job seeker, you may not have a ton of money to spend, and all these companies are asking you to pay for things. Versus ChatGPT is free to use. So that's the one that I tend to recommend. And again, you could have prompted ChatGPT slightly differently. You could say, please review my resume next to this job description. Give me a match rate percentage for how much I match the most important keywords. And it can give you that percentage if you use that prompt. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Cool. I'm just trying to save you guys some money so you can spend it on donating to CUNY once you find those great jobs. Okay, we'll do one last question and then we'll move on to our final section. William Marouche, what do you have for us, our friend?
So it's kind of more about I'm just curious how you get over that imposter feeling to get over the hurdle of even putting in your resume at all. You know what I mean? Putting in the applications at all, getting over that imposter feeling of just being able to.
Yes, totally. And I'll tell you, there's some corresponding research that I can share later that goes along with this that says something like, and this is again, just totally, averages, statistical averages, but men are more likely to apply for roles when they're like 30% qualified, and women are more likely to apply for roles only when they're 80% qualified. And so there are a lot of people out there who are just shooting themselves in the foot because they're like, oh, I'm not 100% qualified, therefore it's not worth my time. My goal with sharing this data is not just to surprise you guys, but to say, hey, take care of yourself. Give yourself a little grace. Like the fact is you went to an amazing CUNY school, you have these incredible skills that are in demand right now, and you don't need to be the world expert in everything to get a job. You just need to sort of match the key things that are really critical. And hopefully that gives you the sense, William, that what you have today is good enough. And it's just about getting credit for it. You don't need a new degree. You don't need a brand new resume necessarily. Just get credit for the stuff you're already awesome at. And that will unlock so many doors. Okay, William?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Of course, of course. Okay, I wish I could go back and forth because there's so many great questions and so much depth to these things I want to get into. That being said, I know we're already over time. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll on to the very next topic and the last topic, but I will happily answer any questions after the session on LinkedIn. So if we didn't get a chance to directly answer your questions, please connect with me, shoot me a message, ask me your questions. I will answer every last question. If not now, online, I promise you. Okay, I've got one last pop quiz. Before I get there, I just want to give out a little warning about Chat GPT and AI in general. We've talked about the good side of AI. Now let's talk about the dark side. To make it easy to remember, I've got another mnemonic, the ABCs. The biggest bugaboo, of course, is accuracy. When you write stuff with Chat GPT, at first glance, everything looks good. Oh, it's got the skills, it's got the right bullet points. But what you're going to miss are there all these curveballs, all these hallucinations, which is why it's so critical to have a human in the loop to review every last bit of output before you submit it. So that's the first one. B is for bias. There is so much bias baked into Chat GPT because it's not from some alien civilization. It's based on our own data. And so if you come into Chat GPT and say, tell me a story about a kindergarten teacher in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, where I used to teach, what it's going to do is going to tell you about Miss Thompson or Miss Smith or Miss Sarah. And of course, the vast majority of kindergarten teachers in our society are women, but there are lots of male kindergarten teachers as well, and they're never represented. And that's because it always goes based on averages, probabilistically saying, hey, more likely than not, it's going to be a woman. So if you are not comfortable with those sort of biases baked into our society, just watch out for their reappearance in the stuff that you generate with this tool. And then C is for confidentiality. I know a lot of folks are nervous about this. If I put my resume or my LinkedIn profile into this tool, am I going to be in big trouble? Well, it turns out that if you're putting PII or confidential data into the tool, it could very well show up on someone else's screen. So to avoid that, there are two things to know about. First of all, as you're going along doing these chats, one thing you can do is turn on temporary chat mode, which hopefully will remind you of incognito mode in Google Chrome, because it's the exact same idea. For the length of this specific chat, we will not store your data. For the length of this specific chat, we will not incorporate your data into our model. So that's good. However, if you are completely uncomfortable with any data storage or any modeling, then watch this. If you slide open that sidebar and you come down to your name in the lower left-hand corner, what you can do is you can actually change your settings over here. Oops, I just moved it in the last hour. They put it in the upper right-hand corner. You can come to your face, come to settings, and then come to data controls. And you see where it says improve the model for everyone? That is a sneaky little bit of language, which basically says, let us take your data, make our model better, and make ourselves richer in the process. And if you're not comfortable with that, you can always turn that off, and none of your data will be stored, none will be used in the model. So just keep that in mind as a little sort of plan B if you're worried about confidentiality. Okay, final pop quiz. Imagine now that you are the big boss. It's a few years from now, you are hiring for your own company. The only catch is you have to hire someone from the cast of The Simpsons. Who would you rather hire? Homer, Lisa, or Mr. Burns? And I know that The Simpsons is getting a little long in the tooth these days, but I am curious to hear your take. And so I want to hear from Alexia Wang. Alexia, you said that you would pick Homer. I'm so curious. Alexia, why do you say Homer? Okay, maybe Alexia doesn't want to talk about it. I will tell you in my experience, most people will actually say Lisa. And the reason for that is that it turns out, even though every culture is different and every country is different, when sociologists have gone around the globe, it turns out that pretty much every human is looking for the same two things in a friend or a colleague. They're looking for competence. Can I trust you? Do you know what you're doing? Can you do the job? but they're also looking for warmth. Would I want to do the job with you? Would you be a great teammate? And the reason I call this out is that too often, when we get stuck in that interview stage that we were talking about with Luis, we're so focused on what we're going to say that we forget to focus on how to say it the right way. And so, to give you AI tools to solve both of these challenges and crush your next interview, raise your hand one last time, please. And the first person to do that gets the final giveaway. And it's going to be Manuela Murat. Emanuela, go ahead and turn on your microphone and come join us for the thrilling finale to our session tonight. Hello, Emanuela.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you
Doing
for this
great.
session. It's very
Oh,
informative.
Hey, my pleasure, my pleasure. And
Taking so many notes.
tell us about your CUNY alma mater.
So I went to the CUNY School of Public Health, graduated January 2016.
Oh, that is awesome. So you graduate with a public health degree, and then just 4 years later, the biggest public health catastrophe in the world happens. So
Yes,
I
COVID.
guess, yeah, good timing, bad timing. I don't know what you would call it, but at least you were there on the front lines. Okay, tell me this, Emmanuel. When you think about everything you could do next, all the opportunities before you, what is one opportunity that sticks out to you as something you're really excited about?
Continuing to grow my skill set excites me. Like just continuing to learn and grow in my role and outside of it.
Awesome. And so just to be clear about the role, are you thinking about like public health officer, doing public health in more of a corporate setting? Like what is that exact job?
And so right now I'm the Associate Director of Health Education Programs. And so advancing to a director level role in my next position.
I love that. So thinking about the future.
Of public health. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get ready. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to tackle both of these challenges, the competence and the warmth. And we're going to do it step by step. So let's start with the easier part, which is sort of getting organized, getting your answers ready. If we wanted to figure out what the most likely interview questions you're going to get for a specific interview are, where could we look for that? How could we figure out how to sort of build a crystal ball to predict those interview questions?
You could use Chat GPT.
Exactly.
For us.
And, you could certainly come over here and you could say, let's go ahead and start with what are the most common public health interview questions? And that would be a fine way to begin because it's looked at so many job descriptions. But what you really want to do is get as specific as possible. And just like we were talking about, when you can find an actual job description, what you can do is you can really hone in on the things that the big boss cares about. You can read their minds ahead of time. So we're going to say Director of Health Education job. We're going to find a great job for you. Let's find a job in New York, greatest city in the world. And check this out. You got the New York Academy of Medicine, Director of Education. Interesting. This could be great. So look at this job description. Oh my goodness. There's like a million bullet points. What if we could condense this into 10 perfect questions? Would that be a good place to start?
Yep. If we could modify it to health education programs.
Oh, sure. Health education programs. And let's see here. And obviously, this is purely for demonstration purposes. So don't feel like you're too wedded to the specific role, but let's just get a little taste of what this looks like. Okay, maybe we'll go with assistant medical director, and we'll do this just as an example. We're going to grab that job description. We're going to come back to Chat GPT. We're going to say, what are the 10 most likely interview questions for this role? And I'll give you a little peek behind the scenes. When I have created job descriptions as a hiring manager, those are basically my wish list. This is my dream candidate in bullet point form. And so when you start with the job description, it's like basically doing kind of an X-ray or a CAT scan, if you will, of your hiring manager's minds. Here's the stuff that he or she cares about. Now we know what to focus on. So now, Emanuela, you're going to get so many behavioral questions. They're going to say, tell me about a time you did this. Describe your experience doing that, blah, 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 blah. When you get one of these questions and you're freaking out, is there a certain framework that you learned at CUNY that you can fall back upon to always tell a powerful story? Do you remember anything like that?
I've learned the STAR method.
Yeah, just for folks who haven't heard of it, what does STAR stand for?
And so it's a way to answer behavioral questions. And so questions about your past experience. And so the S is situation, T is task, A, I think is action, and then R is the result. And so if you follow that formula, you essentially very succinctly tell a story of how you've done whatever question they've asked about.
That's exactly right. So you've got this really beautiful story. It's all logical. It's all clear. And guess who else knows about STAR, Emanuela?
Recruiters and
Recruiters
hiring
and also dun, 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 Chat
Oh,
GPT. Yes, which is crazy, right? Say, generate a STAR answer for number 5 based on my CV. And this will be comical because I have no experience in this space, but we'll see what it comes up with. And again, I'm giving you all the prompts in the chat because I want you to try it right now. Get a little flavor of this. And check this out. Situation, task, action, results, bam, bam, bam. I cannot tell you how many hours I wasted, Emanuela, diagramming these in like an Excel spreadsheet with my S column and my T column. And now ChatGPT just bangs out a really good first draft. And obviously you're going to refine it and make sure it's accurate, but it's a great place to begin. So I would argue to you that competence is actually not that painful. The much harder part in my mind is warmth. So big question, Emanuela. When you are facing that dreaded interview and you're feeling so nervous on the inside, how do you still come across as warm and engaging even in that tough moment?
Even in that tough moment, I mean, that's just my personality in general. I could be very nervous. I'm nervous right now, but it doesn't often show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're coming across super charismatic. So that's amazing. Well, I will tell you, for anyone who's like, Emanuela, you're so lucky. You are just naturally telegenic versus, you know, me who's an introvert or I'm a non-native English speaker. Here's the reality. Anything can be learned, but you have to practice the right way. And it turns out, and this is really interesting, that there's this long body of literature that talks about deliberate practice versus standard practice. So the kind of practice I did when I was in school is I would get some buddies together and I would ask them questions and they would ask me questions. And after each answer, be like, yeah, bro, great job, blah, blah, blah. Were we really learning anything, Emanuela? Were we getting better and developing our skills? No, we were just going through the motions, right? Just locking in those bad habits. Versus deliberate practice, which is what professional athletes use, chess grandmasters, prima ballerinas, is when your coach holds you to account and says, hey, we've got to improve your swing. We've got to improve your stroke. We've got to keep pushing, pushing, pushing until you're getting better at this critical skill. And Emanuela, I know that sounds a little daunting, but what if I told you that I can give you unlimited deliberate practice and feedback for free anytime you want?
That would be amazing.
So as much as I would love to be the interviewer, check out what AI can do for you. So you come back to LinkedIn, and this is kind of hard to believe because it's hiding inside LinkedIn. But if you come to the briefcase icon, click on jobs, and then click on interview prep, there is an interview simulator here, and the link is in the chat, that you can use anytime you want, and that it's always ready with deliberate feedback. So let's say that your biggest question that you're worried about is a question about business or marketing, or it's a question about your greatest weakness. I know people are always scared about that. Well, you're going to give yourself 2 great gifts ahead of time. The first gift is the gift of self-awareness. How can we possibly control someone else's perception of us if we're not seeing ourselves from the outside, if we're too deep in our own head? So we got to do what the pro athletes do. And then number 2, we've got to hold our feet to the fire. Not just great job, you got through that, but here are the things you can control to get better. And that includes things like you're talking too slowly or too quickly. Your variation has gone completely flat and monotone, or you've got all these filler words, these ums and ahs that are destroying your warmth. Plus, you can take that answer, you can share it with CUNY career coaches, CUNY alumni folks, even share it with a CUNY alum who works inside that organization to get their feedback. And you can do that anytime for free. How does that sound, Emanuela?
That's great. I didn't even know this existed.
Okay, so check out 2 links for me. First of all, check out this interview link. I'm going to put that right in the chat. There it is. And then for you in particular, please send me a message on LinkedIn so I can hook you up with that profile makeover and get you ready for that next level job.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thank you. And everyone, give so much love to Emanuela because she's representing the School of Public Health and she's doing it in style. All right, so we've come to the end of the session. I cannot believe that I've kept you over so long. My apologies, y'all. Your questions were just too juicy, just too good. That being said, I'm going to wrap things up, but I'm not going to wrap them up until I give you some bonuses and get you ready for those one-on-one sessions in a second. First bonus is if we did not get a chance to connect live, it's not too late. You can absolutely connect with me after the session. You can use Chat GPT to help write your connection request, and you can ask me questions tomorrow, a year from now, whenever is useful. I'm here for you. Just let me know how I can help. That's number one. Number two is if you want more guidance on Chat GPT, because we've only really scratched the surface, I've got a massive Amazon hack for you to go along with my LinkedIn hacks. So you come over to this book on Amazon. You sign up for a free trial of Kindle Unlimited or Audible. You download the book for free, and then you cancel immediately. And yet you keep the book forever with my compliments and those of Jeff Bezos. So go ahead and grab that book for free, and that'll give you some more techniques. And then finally, one last crazy thing. Back when I was in school, I was an intern at Apple in the summer of 2011, which means I was there for Steve Jobs' final speech. And as crazy as it was, even though he was dying of pancreatic cancer at the time, he got on that stage one last time and just knocked our socks off. Remember this one last slide, one more thing. He introduced Siri to the world that day in June of 2011, and the world has never been the same since. Here we are, 13 years later, still in a world of talking to machines, and machines can actually talk back to us. So in honor of Steve, in honor of Siri, I've got one more thing for you, and I call it Profile Bot 4K. So here's how it works. I'm about to show you a tool that will allow you to build a great LinkedIn profile, even if you're still unsure what that looks like. And so if you came in here and said, hey, I want to be a product manager, but my resume is a little more focused on marketing, or I don't have the experience, this tool will go to work and start to give you feedback on your headline, your about section. It will give you feedback on your experience section, including the keywords you're missing. It'll even suggest posts you can make to stand out on LinkedIn. And there's a little profile coach where you can say, hey, how should I handle endorsements? That's always a big question. And it will give you all this feedback on what to really focus on and what doesn't matter. And this will give you everything you need right through the link in the chat. That tool is yours now and forever. So go out and grab it. And then do me a huge favor. Go out there and rock the world. Live out the words of Steve, which are, hey, we're not here forever. We're here for a pretty darn short time. But in that time, we have the tools, we have the power to go out there and leave a big honking dent in the universe. So please make that dent in everything you do. Give some love to your amazing hosts tonight, to Nydia, to Trang, to all the amazing alumni folks across CUNY, to all of our awesome volunteers. Just make it rain love for them. And then do me the biggest favor of all, which is stick around for just a few more minutes, because I would love to match you up with another CUNY alum to do a little feedback session. And here's what I want you to do together. When I put you in the breakout rooms, you're going to have a chance to share your screens if you want, and you can each look at each other's LinkedIn profiles through the eyes, not of a novice, but of the algorithm, what we talked about tonight. And I want you to focus specifically on the things that matter. I want you to look at the headline. Is it focused on the exact job you want? And I want you to look at the skills. Is it nailing the things that the employer is looking for? And of course, feel free to use Chat GPT when you give your analysis to each other. So that being said, I'm about to put you into these rooms. And what I want you to do is not just learn about your profile, but meet a fellow awesome CUNY alum who's going to rock your world. And together, you can go out there and do amazing things, just like Steve said. So with that in mind, here come the breakout rooms. Here's wishing you a beautiful evening and many exciting CUNY adventures ahead. Thank you all so much. And everyone can feel free to just click that little button on your screen, join those rooms, and you will be off to the races. All right, Nydia and Trang, I apologize for going so far over time. I'm so sorry, you guys, but your CUNY alums are amazing. Thank you for this opportunity. And I just wish we could have gone for another hour to answer all those questions.
No, not at all. I saw the time and I was like, do not stop him. Let him keep going.
We'll definitely have to do a sequel at some point, but I'll do this. I'm going to try to get back onto LinkedIn later tonight. I'm sure I'll have some questions there, so I'll keep answering. And then if you guys hear stuff in terms of, hey, people wanted to talk more about AI ethics or LinkedIn profile photos or whatever, just give me a heads up and I can always share some more content as well.
Sounds great. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Jeremy. This was amazing.
Yes, great.
Yeah,
So
thank you
good.
both for the opportunity. And hey, you guys deserve a raise. I feel like you just brought the whole CUNY world together in one single webinar. So big props to y'all.
Sorry. Okay, welcome back all. I hope you had some time to connect in your room and shared information and provide your colleague with some feedback. So before we head out, we just want to get some feedback from you guys and hear more about your experience in your breakout rooms. And did you learn anything new today? Does anyone want to share their thoughts with us? Like, what did you learn in your breakout room? And perhaps, did you learn anything new from today's session with Jeremy?
Yes, Cheyenne.
Based on this experience, I'd say I've learned to optimize my LinkedIn and resume by utilizing Chat GPT to specify and tailor your resume or cover letter or LinkedIn with the criteria you want. Because it's one thing to just copy and paste what your LinkedIn looks like and just say, change it. But you kind of want to make sure you have the right details. Because the way I see it, Chat GPT is like a child. You got to make sure you're trying to explain to the child of what you want it to do, because children's brains are still developing, and so is Chat GPT. AI is technically still at its youth. I don't see any AI that's, like of our age. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Does anyone want to share with us any other thoughts?
Anything that surprised you?
I want to just say that I thought it was wonderful. I did learn a lot. I in the breakout rooms, I was saying I'm a technological klutz, and I like networking events where I shake hands, and so I'm very, very behind. But I love the breakout room. I got to meet someone. I thought there was a nice connection. That person also graduated from the College of Staten Island. And, I think it's good because it builds relationships, and networking is very important. So thank you for your time, and I'll learn little by little.
Thank you for attending.
Yeah. I might add that, your connections and your time here doesn't stop once we say goodbye, but I think if, continue to practice what you learned today, so you don't forget. So, if you have some time this weekend or something, just go on there and practice. I feel with this, it makes it a little less scarier the more you practice, I think. And also, like I said, reach out to the colleagues or the names that you saw today, or the people that spoke on LinkedIn, and try to use some of the stuff that Jeremy gave tips for. Write that little note to that person that you met today. That's a great way to practice, put it into action, and and keep connecting. Don't just stop after one workshop and say, oh, it's great. I was informed, I learned, but actually put those wisdom, those nuggets into action and see where that takes you.
Absolutely.
Well, we'd love to hear more, but we don't want to keep you for the sake of keeping you. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. Reach out to your, like I said, your department's of alumni office, and share great news, information, whatever it is that you need to share with us. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event. And thank you for coming.
Yes, I want to say thank you so much to Jeremy for an amazing and impactful presentation. I know I've learned more than I ever have about this important topic. I hope you enjoyed your time with us. This concludes our event. Thank you so much again to all the CUNY campuses for collaborating on this effort. And thank you so much to our CUNY alumni. Thank you so much. And to our guests for attending. We wish you the best on your career endeavors. And again, please keep in contact with your campuses. We want to hear from you. And we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye, everyone. Have a good evening.